Disney, in the late 2000s and early 2010s, had a renaissance period of some seriously good films that just sorta came out of nowhere. These days, we're used to big studios pumping out sequel after sequel or remake after remake. But back then, Disney was making big waves by creating original, well-crafted, and emotionally grounded films. The Princess and the Frog, Bolt, Tangled, and a few big Pixar films like Brave and Up. But in 2012, they released a film that even Disney didn't expect much from. That's right. I'm talking about Wreck-It Ralph, a film that was so uninspiring to those who made it that it was actually a recycled story from an 80s Disney film that never made it, called High Score. But little did they know, their caution and doubt was about to be blown away. Today, we're going to be recapping both films in the Wreck-It Ralph franchise. So get ready for a fixin' of Wreck-It Ralph action. Before we get into it though, obviously there's a bit of context for you guys. Wreck-It Ralph centers around the titular character Ralph, who is the designated villain of an arcade game called Fix-It Felix Jr. Despite being given the role of a villain, Ralph is deeply unhappy and wishes he could be the real hero of his game. Fix-It Felix, Ralph's nemesis, is surprisingly a good guy who actually doesn't really hate Ralph and wishes he could fix things for him, if you'll pardon the pun. There are obviously other major characters to cover, but we will get to them when we meet them in the story. For now though, let's digitally dive into the arcade world of Wreck-It Ralph. So we find ourselves in Litwack's Arcade, where video game characters come to life after the arcade closes. You know, Toy Story, but with games, I guess. They gather at Game Central Station, traveling through power cables to interact. In Fix-It Felix Jr., the hero, who everyone can't help but love, Felix, is celebrated by the game's characters, and as I said earlier, Ralph is getting pretty tired of this considering the fact that he's really a good guy at heart. Tired of being treated as an outcast and sleeping on a bed of bricks,
I'm good.
Ralph attends a support group for video game villains. Now, usually you'd be thinking, it'll be some made-up nobodies you never heard of, right? Not this time. They've got the little ghosts from Pac-Man, Zangief from Street Fighter, and Bowser. I don't think I need to tell you where Bowser's from. Anyway, in that support meeting, Ralph confesses his desire to stop being bad. I'm not sure I'm up to speed on villainy, but admitting you want to stop it altogether can't have gone down with the rest of the group very well.
And that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
When he returns to his game, Ralph finds the other characters celebrating the game's anniversary without inviting him. Felix reluctantly lets him join the party, but Gene, a Nicelander with a harsh opinion of Ralph, hits Ralph with some own truths. He says that Ralph is just the bad guy who wrecks the building, and will never be anything more than that. This obviously hurts the big guy, so he declares that he'll prove himself by winning a medal to gain respect and storms out to find a way to become a hero. I know this is the point of the film, but man, these little side characters are the real villains. Imagine saying that to somebody who just wants to be appreciated. Without him, you don't have a game. Ralph visits the bar in Tapper, hoping to learn where he can win a medal. There, he meets Markowski, a soldier from the modern first-person shooter Hero's Duty. A first-person shooter with duty in its name. Maybe a bit on the nose there, Disney. He reveals that the winner of his game earns a medal. But unfortunately for Ralph, he first stumbles on something that, well, I wouldn't say is medal-worthy.
Oh, come on, Zangief. Gross.
Intrigued and lusting for less brief and more metal, Ralph sneaks into Hero's Duty and encounters its stern leader, Sergeant Calhoun, where he learns that Hero's Duty is a game where the NPCs work alongside the player to help them get to the top of the tower, where they are to defeat a large group of cybug larvae, to which they, in return, earn a gold medal with the word hero carved into it. Because, you know, wearing something with the word hero etched in must 100% make you one. It's not materialistic or anything. After shooting and booting up, Ralph manages to complete the game and retrieve the medal, but accidentally hatches a more dangerous cybug, and the virus-like creature clings to him. In his panic, Ralph launches himself into an escape pod, inadvertently escaping Hero's Duty. The escape pod crashes into Sugar Rush. I know the game isn't the same, but this is obviously a parody of Candy Crush, and I love it. Although this world is bright and colorful candy-themed kart racing game. Not, you know, a game played by bored middle-aged women. Yeah, talking about you, Mom. I know you watch these. Anyway, Ralph, searching for his medal, meets Vanellope von Schweetz, a glitchy, energetic character who steals the medal to use as an entry fee for a race.
Hey, are you a hobo?
No, I'm not a hobo.
The other racers and the game's ruler, King Candy, bully Vanellope. insisting that she's not part of the game. They destroy her homemade cart, crushing her dreams of racing. Ralph, angry at the racer's cruelty, scares them off. When Vanellope explains that she can win Ralph's medal back by placing first in the race, the two form an unlikely partnership. And a partnership that will bring the best out of each other. I hope, anyway. Meanwhile, in Fix-It Felix Jr., the game malfunctions without Ralph.
Felix!
Just act natural. I'll fix it.
And Lickwalk labels it out of order. Felix, concerned that their game will be unplugged, sets out to find Ralph and teams up with Calhoun, who's hunting the cybug that Ralph accidentally unleashed. Calhoun warns Felix that cybugs can destroy entire games if left unchecked, and the two begin their search. In Sugar Rush, Ralph and Vanellope bond as they build a new cart together in the game's cart bakery. However, they're pursued by King Candy and his guards, forcing them to hide in Diet Cola Mountain, an unfinished racetrack where Vanellope lives. Also, unironically, where I would live if I had that as an option. Just don't bring any Mentos home and you'll be fine. As Ralph trains Vanellope to drive, their friendship grows, and Ralph becomes protective of her dream to race more than his need for a medal. Elsewhere, Felix falls for Calhoun but accidentally reminds her of her tragic past, where her fiancé was killed by a cybug on their wedding day. Now that kinda came out of nowhere, didn't it? Heartbroken, she abandons Felix, who is later captured by King Candy's assistant, Sour Bill, while searching for Ralph. I know these types of names are low-hanging fruit, but I can't help but love them. Meanwhile, Calhoun discovers a swarm of cybug eggs hidden beneath Sugar Rush, realizing the game is on the brink of destruction. King Candy approaches Ralph, offering to return his medal on the condition that Vanellope does not race. He warns Ralph that Vanellope's glitch could lead to the game being perceived as broken and unplugged, dooming her since glitches can't leave their games. Man. Although for different reasons, you can kinda see the parallel lines between Vanellope and Ralph. You know, they're both outcasts and both through no fault of their own. Fearing for Vanellope's safety, Ralph destroys her cart, breaking her heart, and decides to give up on his idea of being a hero. After all, he just smashed a little girl's dream into 1,000 pieces. So with his heavy hands and even heavier heart, Ralph heads back to Fix-It Felix without the main attraction, who's still in prison, which always made me think, why can't he fix it so he's not in jail or fix the cell wall into dust or something?
Why do I fix everything I touch?
Come on, use your imagination, Felix. Sorry, I just hate seeing Ralph like this. Look at him, sad and once again becoming the bad guy he's always hated being. Come on. Well, as Ralph wallows in regret in his empire of bricks, he notices Vanellope's image on the side of the Sugar Rush arcade cabinet. Now, why would a glitch appear on the side of a game? The cogs start to turn in Ralph's head, and he realizes that Vanellope isn't some outcast. She's the star of the show. Ralph then sets out to confront Sour Bill, who reveals the truth.
Okay, I'll talk.
King Candy tampered with the game's code, erasing everyone's memory of Vanellope and her status as the rightful ruler of Sugar Rush. And if you think that's crazy, then just you wait for what's about to come next. So the law of the land states that if anyone beats King Candy, including Vanellope, the game will reset, and she'll no longer be a glitch. Determined to make amends, Ralph frees Felix and persuades him to repair Vanellope's cart. She's ready to race. The final race begins, and it's all or nothing for Vanellope against King Candy. But when things start to turn against the not-so-sweet king, it's revealed that he's actually Turbo, an infamous arcade game character who was thought to be exiled from the arcade for going rogue and trying to rule games with a dictatorial fist.
I'm Turbo, the greatest racer ever!
It turns out that when his last game shut down, he headed over to Sugar Rush, tampered with the code, as Sour Bill said, and made the Candyland his, but not for much longer, as Vanellope uses her glitching ability to escape Turbo's attacks. The cybugs, who have been multiplying by the thousands since arriving in Sugar Rush, swarm the game, consuming everything in their path. Turbo is devoured by a cybug and fuses with it, becoming a monstrous glitching hybrid, which is already some much-deserved karma for calling Vanellope a glitch and ousting her from the kingdom. With the game in chaos, Ralph devises a plan to attract the cybugs to their destruction, basically from his time in Hero's Duty. Ralph knows that the cybugs are obsessive over bright lights, and if he could create something that both acts as a light and a way to destroy them, then he'll be one step closer to defeating Turbo. You know, because he's currently given his best Jeff Goldblum in the Fly impression. So he climbs Diet Cola Mountain and triggers an eruption by smashing its Mentos stalactites into the cola below. See, I told you before, no Mentos. Although, in fairness, this use of Mentos is totally fine. Turbo tries to stop him, but Ralph sacrifices himself, diving into the eruption. But Vanellope uses her glitching powers to save Ralph at the last moment, and the beacon of light destroys the cybugs and Turbo. With Turbo gone, Vanellope crosses the finish line, restoring the game's original code. She is revealed to be Sugar Rush's princess to all its citizens, though she gives up her royal title and chooses to remain just a racer. The game's characters regain their memories, and Sugar Rush is saved. Ralph returns to Fix-It Felix Jr. and is welcomed by the Nicelanders, who finally appreciate his role as the bad guy. Felix and Calhoun marry, and Fix-It Felix Jr. thrives as a revitalized game. Ralph finds happiness in his life, especially in knowing he's a true friend in Vanellope. As he watches her flourish in her game, Ralph concludes that if someone like her likes him, he can't be all that bad. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a character arc.
How bad can I be?
There we go. I actually kind of forgot how good this film really was from an emotional point of view. But the question is, does the second movie hold up? Let's find out. The second film, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Yeah, I know. From the title alone, things don't look very promising, but let's give it a shot. The story takes place 6 years later at Litwak's arcade, where Ralph and Vanellope love spending time together on adventures across Game Central Station. One day, Mr. Litwak installs a Wi-Fi router, and the surge protector warns everyone to stay away from it.
Whiffy?
Vanellope feels bored with her repetitive racing game, so Ralph creates a new track for her in Sugar Rush. When the players lose control of the game and accidentally break the steering wheel, Litwak decides to unplug Sugar Rush. The only replacement wheel is on eBay, so Ralph and Vanellope head to the internet to save the game. Buying a steering wheel online isn't as good as saving the two games and making people see you're a hero, but again, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here. Once online, they meet Knowsmore, a search engine, to find eBay.
Umbrella, umbrage, umami, umathermic.
No.
Actually think, what would it be like if Google was sentient? Would it ask me why I was Googling the weather for the 14th time today? Just keep forgetting. Anyway, they accidentally bid $27,001 for the wheel, realizing too late that they don't have the money to pay. Spamly, a pop-up, offers a solution: steal. Now really, he tells them to go and steal some valuable car from one of the driving games in the arcade. This leads them to a risky game called Slaughter Race, where they eventually steal a car but are suddenly thrust into a high-speed chase with Shank, a skilled driver in the game. They're caught, and though Shank refuses to hand over her car, she lets them know that Ralph and Vanellope can earn money by becoming a viral sensation on BuzzTube. At BuzzTube, yep, no really, that's her name. She's the head algorithm, and she helps Ralph make funny videos that go viral. Vanellope, meanwhile, explores other websites and lands at Oh My Disney, where she meets and bonds with the Disney princesses. The real deal ones too, like Snow White and Cinderella, Mulan, 13 of them in total. However, they left Tiana out, so kind of ruins the film's credibility by a lot. Inspired by their advice, Vanellope realizes she wants more out of life.
Arf! Do you have daddy issues? I don't even have a mom.
Neither do we!
Meanwhile, Ralph uploads enough videos to pay for the steering wheel, but becomes insecure when he overhears Vanellope telling Shank she wants to stay in Slaughter Race. Desperate to keep Vanellope as his friend, Ralph turns to Spamly once again. He's determined to find a way to make Slaughter Race so dull that Vanellope won't want to stay. Spamly introduces Ralph to Double Dan, a creepy virus designer hiding deep in the dark web. He looks like he'd wear the hell out of a MAGA hat. Anyway.
What are you doing here?
Double Dan provides Ralph with a virus that can find and amplify insecurities, broadcasting them to wreak havoc. So basically, like if someone found my diary from when I was 13 and told everybody at school. No, that would be way worse. Ralph releases the virus in Slaughter Race, targeting Vanellope's glitch. The virus quickly spreads, causing chaos as the game starts to break down. The glitching becomes so intense that it almost crashes the entire server, putting both Ralph and Vanellope in grave danger. As the game stabilizes, Vanellope begins blaming herself for the disaster. That's when Ralph admits the truth about his plan. Furious and hurt by Ralph's betrayal, Vanellope throws away the cherished cookie medal she had given him years ago and walks away, leaving him devastated.
I would never do what you did, never! So you leave me alone!
Meanwhile, the virus escapes Slaughter Race and scans Ralph's insecurities. It replicates them, creating thousands of Ralph clones that spread across the internet. The clones band together, forming a massive, monstrous version of Ralph that rampages through the web, desperately searching for Vanellope. Vanellope, Ralph, and Yes put their differences aside for now and come up with a plan to lure the clones into an antivirus trap. But the tactic fails, and Vanellope is captured by the giant Ralph. Ralph tries to fight the clones but realizes brute force won't work. Instead, he confronts them with honesty, calling out their selfish behavior. He admits that Vanellope's choice to stay in Slaughter Race doesn't mean their friendship has to end. This heartfelt realization dissolves Ralph's insecurities, causing the giant Ralph to disintegrate. Ralph falls from the wreckage, but the Disney princesses swoop in and save him just in time. With the danger gone, Ralph and Vanellope make up, sharing a heartfelt hug as they reconcile. The internet is restored, and Vanellope decides to stay in Slaughter Race, feeling that it's just where she truly belongs. Ralph comes to terms with this change and returns to the arcade. He finds new joy in spending time with other game characters and stays connected with Vanellope through video chats. Kinda like me and my mom in COVID. Huh. Kinda depressing when you think about it that way. The post-credits scene ends with Ralph rickrolling the audience, singing Never Gonna Give You Up alongside characters from Slaughter Race in the arcade.
Never gonna let you down.
Yep, let's just... I respect you guys, let's call a spade a spade. This second film was just a heartless cash grab. It's aimed at kids trying to be quirky by parroting YouTube and using meme culture. I mean, they lost what was really great and important in the first movie. Heart. And that's all we got with our big-hearted, heavy-handed friend Ralph. But for those of you wanting a little more action from Mr. Litwalk's arcade, fear not. According to some articles released earlier this year, there is a potential animated series in the pipeline for Ralph and Vanellope. Apparently, it focuses on digital renderings of Disney princesses and their worlds, and it's up to Ralph to go into these digital landscapes and save the day. Other than that, though, it's not likely we'll see Ralph on the big screen anytime soon, although John C. Reilly, the voice of Ralph, really wants to see him tackle space. Imagine that, Ralph zooming around and ditch a space, and you betcha, when that day comes, Jartoon will cover it. I hope you all enjoyed this brief little look through the universe that contains all the wonders of the arcade, like Fix-It Felix, and more importantly, Wreck-It Ralph. Let us know down below what you'd like for us to cover next, and we'll see you next time. See ya!